At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. And that's for real. We who believe in freedom cannot rest till freedom come. And I'm waiting on Mr. Rye to hop on here. But it's also It's still Black History Month, and I'm gonna have a Black History little segment for the whole year that I'm working on because I really love history, and so I'll just talk a little bit here about Black history. Black history is so important. It's important because our kids need it, but also it's important because we need it. We need it, African America. We need it in a country where we're always talked about. It's not sometimes it's just hard to find something good for us because it's always something out there about us. And so what Black history does, it fortifies us with goodness and the strength of our African American, our ancestors, who was not called African Americans, although the revisionist of Black history wants to call people like Harriett Tubman an African American, and she was not an African American. She lived her life as a Negro. And so I always rewrite it when I'm writing and making a presentation. Like I did yesterday, I had a presentation that I talked about Black spiritualism, and that Black spiritualism has been around for a long time. I believe the Africans brought Black spiritualism with them here to America, and then it grew in America. But because it was hard for other people to show us spiritualism or some kind of spiritualist idea when we were being not treated well. So anyway, but I love history, and I will have a little segment on every time I'm on, at least a few minutes or maybe 10 minutes about Black history. But Mr. Rye's on. So how you doing, Mr. Rye?
Eric helped me with my technical difficulties. For some reason, my Zoom app is there. Oh, I see it now. It just you got to be so small you can't hardly see it. I have elderly eyes, so that's another problem. I need to wear my glasses.
I was going to say I can help you with that because I'm an optician. My son is an optician. A master optician if you need some speckle records.
No, see, I actually got them. I just have to start wearing them.
Oh, you got some speckle records.
Okay, yeah, I have some.
Okay, all right, because I can help you out with that.
So how you doing? I know you can.
Yeah. Been 25 years in that business. Oh, the state ran me out. You know my story though. That's Black history there. I think we ought to compile all the people that the state ran out of business and talk about that Black history. One of these Black histories, we ought to talk about all the businesses that the state ran out after I-200 and took their business, put Mr. Branch in here and I-Care Service at the top of the list.
Well, I got this calendar my brother-in-law, or actually Andrea's brother-in-law, shared with me, and just talks about something that happened. I was trying to hope that I would have it to hold up, but I'll share it with you later. But everything, all the atrocities, everything that ever happened on a daily basis. Like yesterday was the 11th anniversary of Trayvon Martin's death.
Yes, I am aware of that one because
on
I'm
February
on the Florida
7th,
list. Mm-hmm.
A Black man and a Black woman were hung, mutilated, and burned while 600 people picnicked and looked on. They also have stuff in there where a congressman was elected during Reconstruction. They refused to seat him. So it's every day.
Every
day.
Good
things and the bad things, but the real things. Our history is documented, is well documented, and there's no way in nobody's name, Rick DeSantis, and nobody else in this country can hide that from anyone because our history is documented.
Our history is documented, and that's what's so wonderful about it. And I'm glad we're doing this and having this conversation because he's not going to win in Florida. Really and truly. We've been here longer than he has been here. Now you're going to tell us what our history is. I can't wait till we start pushing back on this stuff. Everybody, we've been here since before the Civil War, man. I mean, the outside of the Native Americans and the Mexicans that was living in the border states toward Mexico, down to
With
Mexico.
all those Spanish names, Los
Yeah,
Angeles, San
yes, that's
Francisco,
right. That's right.
Texas, Arizona.
Albuquerque, New Mexico and Mexico. I mean, why we got a New Mexico in America? If I mean, New Mexico because they had an old Mexico. So, yeah. So history is history is really my Bible. I love
Yeah.
history. I'm a closet scholar. I love to talk about it. So, but I know that you got some things that you want to do, some history that you want to talk about.
Well, no, the Martin Luther King Commemoration Committee held, I know there were a lot of events, and that's good because it's Black History Month. There should be a lot of events. But we have a Black History event. We also remember Dr. King's assassination and what he was doing. And then we also do, this year will be the 60th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. A lot of people's going to be a real big to-do in Washington, D.C., but I'll be right here in Martin Luther King Jr. County commemorating that day when all those folks came together that led us getting our Civil Rights Act of 64, our Voting Rights Act of 65. And now, if you don't know it, you better get ready to fight all over again because they're both
right,
under
already,
attack.
because he who forgets history will repeat it. See, and 1963 was when I graduated from high school, so it was 100 years after Lincoln had signed the paper in 1963. So and then I was in Montgomery, Alabama when the March on Washington started. Yeah, I mean in August of 1963. So I remember that vividly. So hey, that's right.
Well, the major issue that still confronts, as far as I'm concerned, from my analysis, the major impediment for African descendants of the United States enslaved.
Yep, the stolen ones.
Before people say, you talk about America, it's the United States of America, and it's a person from another country. I said, you have to understand that Black folks been here since the some say 1500s, and others say 1619, when the first settlers arrived here. But the other thing people have to understand is that in the Americas, there were 15 times more Africans that went to South America and Latin America that came to what is now the United States of America.
Well, but also what we have to remember is that Ivan Van Sertima said that anthropologists said that the mighty Africans left Africa over 250,000 years upright, and that's why when they do these artifacts, they find Black people in Peru. They find some of these old things. But you're right about the second time they came, or the third time they brought them. They brought them as bought people in bondage. But when they left that mighty continent all those years ago, they were going out to exploring the world. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's part of that ancient history. See.
Yeah, but in remembrance of Dr. King, we also, even our Black History Month is always around the Martin Luther King Commemoration Committee has always got some Martin Luther King Jr. in it.
Yes.
There were several people that were acknowledged for the work they've done. And Dr. Maxine Mims has Dr. Maxine Mims changed the award is named for her, and it was presented to Mary Flowers. And during that presentation, Dr. Mims had several African American gentlemen come up who Mary Flowers had worked with for the last 10 to 20 years with, and they're all now out of incarceration and being very productive members of society. Also, Mona Bailey, the late Mona Bailey, who has a academy named for her, the Mona Bailey Academy. Her son, Chris Bailey, presented the Mona Bailey Education Advocate Award to Linda Thompson Black, who is the development director for the United Negro College Fund.
Yeah, Mona Bailey was a Floridian. She graduated from the Mighty Rattlers, Tallahassee A&M. Florida A&M.
Matter of fact, her brother was a basketball player at Seattle University, Thornton Humphrey, and that's how she got up here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Claude Harris, the first Black firefighter who retired as chief, presented the current Seattle Fire Chief, Harold Scoggins, the Norm Rice Public Service Award.
Right. All right.
And,
well, good.
Go right ahead.
No.
He was Chief Scoggins was also the first Black firefighter in the Glendale, California Fire Department. And he
Wow.
left there as the chief of the fire department to take the Seattle job 8 years ago.
Yes,
I must
he's doing
admit,
a
all
fine.
March,
He's
King's
doing a
Cut,
fine
every
job.
valley, every march, he is there. So
He's
we
doing a fine
appreciate
job
that.
here as a fire chief. They were out with those vaccines. Right away they were out on the front line. They were doing. I mean, they do it. They've done a good job. I mean, I really like him as police. I mean, as a fire chief in Seattle. So yeah.
Also, update on the house that the old black firefighters purchased that don't owe any money on. That was
Right.
being sold by some members of the new fire department.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's my understanding that the attorney for the people who are trying to sell the house have withdrawn because in speaking to Representative Sharon Tomiko Santos, that is identified as a historical black landmark, and there's funds to enhance that property and build up a
Really?
nice
Oh, that's
new
good.
firefighters museum for black,
Yes.
to
Yes.
show the history. Because the thing about it is so much history is tied to it. There was a process where Claude Harris was being promoted, and some whites challenged it, and it went all the way to U.S. Supreme Court, and Lim Howell won the case in U.S.
Really?
Supreme Court, and he still ascended to be the chief of the fire department. But there's one funny story. When he first got hired, he had all of his gear, and he was on the bus, and he sat at the bus stop, and then all of a sudden there was a fire, and the fire truck went past him with the sirens on and stuff, and people started saying, "Man, they catching the brother, catch the bus to the fire." But that wasn't the case. He had just been hired, but that went all around the neighborhood in a hurry.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
in '59, the mayor's office got some calls about it too. But anyway,
Wow,
that wasn't the case at all. And then finally, there's an award named for Larry Gossett, and that award was presented to Lyle Quasim, who was co-chair of the Tacoma-Pierce County Black Elected, chair of the Black Education Strategy Roundtable, the former secretary of the Department of Social and Health Services, also the former president of Bates College, Technical College
wow.
in Tacoma, and also was like an executive assistant to a Republican Pierce County executive. So
Right.
He has a resume. He was the largest state agency that DSHS is, and he also was a state mental health director.
Wow. Yeah, and then a lot of those women that wind up coming after us, they got in those positions as affirmative action jobs. People who came.
But when you look at how the federal breakdown goes, that's always the case.
Yeah,
but that's an update too, Reverend Harriett. Recently, we had I filed this complaint against the discrimination against African Americans in Washington State contracting and business opportunities.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that was filed November 23rd, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't hear anything for a while. Finally, when the state's numbers came out about 3 or 4 months ago, it reflected where Blacks did 0.18%.
Yeah, zero.
0.18%.
Yeah.
And we know that Governor Gary Locke had submitted Governor's Directive 98-01 in December 98. That's what killed affirmative action. I-200 didn't kill it. I-200 put it on the map for people to shoot at, but even the voters' preference says I-200 eliminates gender and racial preferences. But we know what that means too. But anyway, that Governor's Directive was rescinded in January of 2022, and Governor Inslee has an executive order. We don't know how well that's doing right now, but we know that when Congressman Benny Thompson saw this, he did a letter to the Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. And so that was December 15th. He didn't hear anything for about 2 months. So I called. I said, hey, why is he treating Congressman Benny like he treats us? So Department of Justice had Bob Armstead and I submit consent to have the U.S. Justice Department discuss our information with Congressman Benny Thompson. So we sent that in last week. So as soon as I hear something, I'll make sure you know about it, because your name is on the complaint as well.
Yeah, my name is on that complaint.
Matter of fact, there's 22 of us. It's members of the clergy, organizations like Mother's Justice, and other individuals, 22 of us, including Elmer Dixon with Executive Diversity Services. He's on there too because he's been hurt as a company. He does more business in Europe than he does in
he does. I saw him down at City Hall not too
Europe
long
and
ago.
Scandinavia.
That's what he said. He said he's always doing work over there. So that's good. At least he's working. I mean, because say some of us, when they came in and swooped our stuff, they swooped it, man.
A lot of people who are qualified to do stuff, they sit back and see no opportunities going to any of the Black people. So, I mean, why should they? I'm not going to say I'll say other African Americans.
No, because the immigrant community, the immigrant community get their share of things, and if you ever do the aggregated thing and break it down, and you have all the different names there, the different surnames, you'll see. Even at that rate, the Asians, the East Africans, I mean, and now the East Indians, also, and again, we sign on the box for everybody, but when they get to America, they discriminate against us. See.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, the Department of Enterprise Services, which is the state's procurement agency, didn't do 1% with everybody. I mean, because of the fact they went back to using these gigantic firms,
right,
and having them big bundle contracts.
That's right.
And that's what happens when that happens. But, I even heard about some public employees, I won't identify any agencies, it's more than one, where they've been overhearing whites saying, we have options other than just Blacks, so if that attitude, we're going to end up with 0.18%.
And that's why we got to keep doing this, really and truly, because we have to call out the people, the groups that come to America to discriminate against us. I mean, really and truly, because they came after us, and we're still being discriminated against, even when it's not supposed to be discriminated. But, this has been really good. We're going to keep this conversation going. I want to say one more thing. You can do an early shout out to Dr. Maxine Mims. Her birthday is Saturday. She'll be 95.
Congratulations, Dr. Maxine Mims. So she has an award named for her because of outstanding. Matter of fact, starting the first HBCU in Tacoma on the hilltop, which is William State College. So
that's right.
That's right. Definitely made.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. Well, hey, this is a good way to start Monday, the last Monday in February. So hey, March comes in like a lamb and go out like a lion. That's what my grandmother always said. So we'll see what March brings us next month, but which is next Monday. So I mean, actually, it's what is it? It's Wednesday.
No, Wednesday, right?
Wednesday.
Right.
Wednesday. Tomorrow's the last day of February. So you take care, and we'll be talking.
Thank you very much, Mary. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. This is your host from Walden. I'll be right back here. We'll talk a little bit more about a little history here, and I'll bring my next guest on soon.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
What do trees make you think of? Life, longevity, health? There's a reason for that. They're the building blocks of our ecosystems, capable of restoring land and environment while creating stable food systems and economic opportunity. At Trees for the Future, for 30 years we've worked with smallholder farmers in developing countries to establish sustainable agroforestry methods. Where there was once deforestation and poor agricultural practices, there are now thriving microenvironments we call forest gardens, made up of more than 50 species of trees and dozens of shrubs, fruits, and vegetables. Through Trees for the Future's forest garden approach, thousands of farming families have successfully brought their land back to life, a sustainable solution to hunger, poverty, and climate change. Sponsored by Trees for the Future. You're invited to join the movement at trees.org/radio.
Hi, this is Dr. K. Mahina Intron, inviting you to tune in on Mondays on 1150 KKNW at 5 p.m. to Dr. K's Attuning to Your Abundance. where we honor everyday abundance through positive messages, poetry, music, affirmations, and writing exercises. For more information, contact Dr. K Workshops at gmail.com or Facebook, Dr. K's Abundance.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host from Walden. It's my joy to be on the air. I love being on there. Hey, I want to bring my next guest in. She's from Stanford, Florida. Another Floridian. What can I say? I just love Floridians. We just gave a lot of history to the world. So what can I say? We just did. And we continue to do by true transparency. We do share DNA somewhere down the line. We're cousins, and her name is Joselynne Walden Forde. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, thank you for coming, because you're just doing so much jazz down in Tampa. Also, not only that, but across the country. But also, just tell a guest a little bit about you. I couldn't pull it all the way up on my cell phone, but you got a lot going on. And plus, we're going to talk a bit about some history, because we talk about history, too.
Absolutely. So, yes, I'm Joselynne Walden Forde. I was born in Sanford, Florida, and grew up in the Orlando, Florida area. I am a graduate of Tennessee State University in Nashville, Tennessee. I currently reside in Tampa, Florida. I am a serial philanthropist. I have started a nonprofit organization where we specifically focus on at-risk youth in our school districts, providing mentorship for them, ensuring that they understand the power of economic empowerment, the power of having a sound education and what that can do for you and to change generations for years to come. I also serve as the chair of the board for the Skills Center of Tampa, and our focus there is on sports, with an intentional focus on that, pulling those kids in and stimulating them with academics. We are in the process of building a $23 million facility in the East Tampa area, which is one of our hardest hit areas in Tampa, which targets primarily our Black and Brown students. So we'll be offering all type of educational initiatives for them. We partnered with the NFL to open up an esports arena as well. We are also into sports. So we have a league, we have a few teams that are now playing on the Under Armour Future Circuit and Under Armour Rise Circuit. So I'm very busy. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Links Incorporated, and very involved with my children's school as well.
Oh, yeah. And she's also a historian, and she's a detective when it comes down to finding lineage, a real detective. I think sometimes she forgets that I'm on the West Coast. I'm getting texts around 5 o'clock a.m., my time. Oh, let me tell you what I found. So anyway, she's on today to talk about not only the good work that she's doing down in Florida, but also what she's found out, because lineage is just let me just digress and say one other thing about lineage. Mm-hmm. If our kids knew lineage, also, and I've got something I'm doing about that here soon, but you understand that what they went through so you could be here in this time zone right now. Mm-hmm. Because see, all of the enslaved people, or the people who were stolen, our ancestors who were stolen, some of those people didn't make it to America. They died coming. And some of the people who did make it, so some of the human beings who did make it, all of their children didn't live.
No, they didn't.
And so if their children did not live, they're not here now.
No.
See, we're here because our ancestors' children lived. Now, all of their children might not have lived. We don't know. Somebody might have had 5 to 10 kids and 5 made it. We don't know. But you're doing a lot. But if we understood the power of knowing your lineage,
yes,
and knowing that the people, what they endured, mm-hmm. is much more than what we see in the world today. I'm not talking about catastrophic like earthquakes. Oh. Because that's in a league, but that's in a category by itself. But on the everyday life,
yes,
and most of us have known no safety since we were captured. That's why we have this thing in us when people the blood pressure go up when they see a police officer. Might not never had a ticket in their life. There's something in us about not being safe.
Yes.
And we can that can come to us at any place, the grocery store, the post office. I mean, just showing up and our variety colors of blackness, that comes up. But that piece to me is just like, it's so relevant, because when our children don't understand that, they don't understand their greatness just by being born. I mean, so anyway, that's why you owned it. That's why you're doing this work, cousin.
That's it.
Walden.
That's it. They have to know. They have to know. We have to tell the story, and we have to.
We have to tell the story. Now, I mean, that's a song in the Black church. We have to tell the story how we got over. Yes. So I'm gonna let you tell this story that you've been on the hunt for.
Yes. God is good. It was interesting. I was speaking with a photographer yesterday, and she was talking about the power of a picture. And oftentimes we don't keep those photographs. And if we have them, we don't know where they are, or we may not even know who the individual is. And that was my situation. Fortunately, we did have a photograph, and it was of a gentleman. And in my spirit, I felt that he was my great grandfather, but I didn't know for certain. And so my journey began. I attended a family reunion, and I was there with family members, but I really didn't know how I connected. And all of those persons that could have shared that information with me are no longer with me. But I knew in my heart that their spirits were guiding me. So anyway, long story short, that one photograph led me to a town known as Goldsboro, Florida, which is right outside of Sanford, Florida.
Yes.
And many people know Sanford, Florida because of Trayvon Martin, etc.
Right.
Well, back in 1891, Goldsboro was its own entity. There were 3 towns that were incorporated in the United States of America: Eatonville, Florida; Goldsboro, Florida; and then there was a town in Mississippi. Well, I was put in contact actually by you with there who had a museum that I didn't know at the time, but I knew she had a wealth of knowledge about the area, and I was just trying to figure out who this gentleman was at the time. And so life happens. I eventually got to connect with her probably about 2 months later. And I was there, and they introduced me to people in the town, and they asked me my family name, and I said Walden, and they all seemed to be familiar with the Walden name on a level that seemed pretty odd to me, but I didn't know why at the time. And so after that, they led me to a museum. And when I walked inside of the museum, tears streamed from my eyes, because everywhere that I turned, my family was in that museum. And I was still perplexed at the time because I couldn't understand why they were in there. And so they were telling me the history, of the town. They founded in 1891. They were loving, they were living, they were thriving for about 20 years. And then the mayor at the time realized that the only way that Sanford could prosper was by taking the west side of Sanford, which was Goldsboro. And so a bill was passed through some maneuvering that annexed Goldsboro into Sanford, which we know as Sanford, Florida today, but it's still known as that town is historic Goldsboro. Well, in that museum was a book, and as I was flipping through the pages of the book, that picture that I had been carrying with me contained the same image. And when I read the information, it was my great-great-grandfather who actually wrote the article of incorporation for Goldsboro, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so to grow up not knowing the power, I remembered visiting Goldsboro as a child, but I never knew the depths of the town and the meaning that it had for our family. So then I asked the question, why? Because this is legacy, this is our history. You have to think of that time. He was mulatto, so he wasn't white enough to be white. He wasn't black enough to be black, but he did what he had to do to survive. And so he managed to get there. He didn't have cell phones. He didn't have Instagram. He didn't have internet. How did you know, to get from Georgia to Goldsboro, to start a life, to start a legacy for us? And That's so right. That I am eternally grateful. But when you kind of understand the culture of the town during that time,
Yes.
I'm certain they were threatened. I'm certain they were threatened that they could never even utter what happened.
Well, Grandma Dosia, my grandmother said she had a shotgun because when my grandfather was out on the railroad, James Garfield Walden, she said that she didn't leave her house to go to the church. She stayed in her house. She had a shotgun, a 38, and a small gun.
That's it.
A little small So they were armed. I mean, they were armed.
I really believe that story had to die when that town was annexed into, but God. Little child coming along that was relentless and would not stop until she got to the bottom of it. And so the power in that of being able to truly understand who I am, the shoulders of giants that I stand on.
That's right.
The impact that they have made on this culture, on this society.
That's right.
So when we say that our history does not matter in the state of Florida, it does matter.
It does matter. It does matter, and I'm glad I'm glad that Crump is on it. Okay.
To develop, the history that we have today, and then to be able to share that with my children so that they know who they are and what they come from. And so it's been a fascinating journey. It's allowed me to actually go back 12 generations of family history. I was actually scheduled to go to the grand opening of the International African American Museum in Charleston, South Carolina. There's been a delay with that, but I implore anyone, if you're not a charter member, become one.
I became a charter member. I mean, not with much, but they say any donation.
Much.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
But it will, be like an Ellis Island experience where you'll be able to go and look at the slave manifestations and all of that. I mean, it's just extraordinary histories. And so I say that to say that, if you don't know who you are and where you've come from, and it's unfortunate, for the most part, we know our mothers and our fathers, our aunts and uncles and our cousins, maybe a great here or there, but past that, we don't have that information. And it's empowering. It's absolutely empowering.
And one reason why we don't have it is because we've been carrying the stigma of shame of being a slave.
Right, exactly.
And we were never a slave, but we were enslaved. And the stigma is on the slave master and as our own slave owner. And as we, progress further, we need to shift that burden from us, and then relish in the light in the history of the people who refuse to die.
That's it.
We should delight in the people who refuse to die. See, that's a title of a book. Because
and they fought. I mean, they fought until the end. Like I was able to find my great grandmother's grave, and it's still in. She died in 1899, and the grave is there in Sanford. But interestingly, I couldn't find my great grandfather, which was
what cemetery is it? The Page Jackson Cemetery.
Page Jackson
because I went through that cemetery many times, going to visit your grandmother, your grandparents there. It's in the cemetery.
In the cemetery. And that cemetery was named after my grandmother's father. And so, I mean, it's just beautiful, as I put the pieces of the puzzle together. But, in my head, I still couldn't figure out why I couldn't find my great-grandfather's grave and where was he? And so I got in contact with the librarian, and she was absolutely fascinated with my research and what I was able to uncover in such a short time. And so she asked me, she said, is there a possibility that he's not buried in Sanford, but he's buried in Georgia? And I said, that's interesting because he was born in Georgia, which is an interesting story as well. His father was a very wealthy slave owner, and he had a slave who had 13 children from him.
Was that Walden, right? I mean, that's the Walden line.
Okay. That's the Walden line. And he was only able to keep 3 of the kids. And so the other 10 were displaced, elsewhere. So when I asked her, long story short, where was the grave located? She said in Pulaski County, Georgia. And I said, well, that's interesting because his father was born in Pulaski County, Georgia. But I still, in my head, I'm like, why did you go back? And why did you go back then? And I honestly just got resolve on that. I'm thinking about his story. He was one of the 10 that was not able to stay with his mother and father. So he pretty much was a motherless and fatherless child.
Right.
All of his life. Like I said, with his image, he wasn't white enough to be white. He wasn't black enough to be black, but he was white enough to pass on our history
and black enough to do what he did for black
and to do what he did for blacks. And so, he had to keep moving. He couldn't go back because if he went back, he would have been exposed.
Right.
And so, but when I think about it and the timing of it, he lost his wife. About a decade after that, they lost Goldsboro, and he really had nothing left.
Right.
He had nothing left, and so he went back home to die.
Right.
That's why his grave is there in Pulaski, Georgia. So that's one of my next stops is to go.
Oh yeah,
there and pay my respects or whatever, and just thank him for his sacrifice. For his courage. I look at his census reports and it says, "Could you read or write?" And he said no, but he had to lie. He couldn't tell them that he could read or write. And he wrote an article of incorporation, so he could, but he had to do to survive.
They kept a lot of secrets then, secrets then those days. They weren't on TikTok telling everything.
No, was not. No, not at all. So it's been it's been an interesting journey uncovering my legacy, my truth, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. No.
Well, you want to talk a little bit? Let's take a break and come back and talk about the Walden line that came from England. So
okay,
we'll take a break and come back. Okay. You listen to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. We'll be right back.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
You may not realize how important 3 letters can be. For a patient who needs type A, B, or O blood, these letters can mean life, but there simply aren't enough people giving blood. Every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs it, but only about 3% of the population donates. Without more donors, hospitals may not have the blood needed to save lives. That's why the American Red Cross needs people to help restore the A's, B's, and O's that are depleting each day. When you make your appointment to donate blood at redcrossblood.org/missing types, you can help give strength to kids, parents, and grandparents who face life and death challenges. From cancer patients to accident survivors waiting for critical surgeries, your generosity can give someone more life. Don't wait until the letters A, B, and O are missing from hospital shelves. You are the missing type patients need. Visit redcrossblood.org/missing types or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make your donation appointment today.
Miss a show on KKNW? Check out 1150kknw.com for podcasts of many of our programs. That's 1150kknw.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on there. Everybody knows I love it, and I want to thank all our supporters. I think we're being supported this time by the Virtues Healing Circles. That's brought to you by HGW Consulting. So we're doing the Virtues Circles and be able to heal people in more than one way to heal people, and the Virtues is one of those ways. So I want to thank all of our supporters. We've been on the air now since 2014, and mothers, we've been doing mothers now for 33 years. I had no idea we would still be doing this, but God, say it. But say it. You can say it good. All right. Well, I think we're going to bring my guest back on, and she's going to continue to talk about her lineage, which some of her lineage is my lineage, but we want to go ahead and talk about those Waldens.
Yes. So the Waldens actually, it was interesting. Probably over 20 years ago, I was visiting London, and that was the first time that I saw the Walden name. And I'm like, I'm just thinking it's coincidental at the time. I'm young, footloose, and fancy free. Little did I know. And my husband is actually from London, England. Okay. When we initially met, he says, "Oh my goodness." He says, "You're a Walden?" He's like, "That name is all over London. It's a very distinguished name in London." And I'm like, really? Like, no one ever, knew that and was able to share that with me. But anyway, long story short, Our Walden line originated in London, England. The first Waldens came to the United States at around 1622. And they're all up and down the Eastern corridor from Virginia down to the Carolinas. Our particular line came in through South Carolina, and then from South Carolina migrated up into the Jefferson County, Georgia area, moving over into Pulaski County, and then eventually down into the Decatur County, Georgia area. But there's still Waldens that are dispersed all throughout. What
about Thomas? What county is Thomasville in?
Well, Thomasville is actually in that Decatur County area. Okay. Yeah, it's in that Decatur County area. Interestingly, through my Ancestry DNA search, probably about 2 months ago, I actually received a photograph of the actual slave master quarters where they sold the slaves.
Wow.
In Jefferson County. And it was a lot to absorb, because I can't run away from who I am, the good and the bad of it. It's who I am. It's, my name, and you received your name either one or two ways, either direct lineage, or you were purchased by that, slave owner, and, right, acquired the name that way. But just because of the image of my great-grandfather, I know that he was direct lineage of the Walden line. However, right, that was
yes,
love relationship or rape. I don't know for certain, that part of it. But however, he is a direct descendant of that Walden line, and it's in my DNA. It's who I am.
It's in mine.
Even with the children being displaced, and we're kind of like in the process now of trying to, find the lines of these respective families, but their brand was the same. Everywhere they went. They were landowners. They were leaders in their community.
They were leaders in their communities.
They were pastors. They were respected. They were bold. They were unapologetic. And it was so refreshing to figure that out. I'm like, I'm normal,
Oh yeah, you're not really an overachiever. That just comes with the line, with the lineage.
But I'm like, it's who I am. It's in my DNA, and so I can't run from it, and I won't run from it.
That's right. Well, it's taken me a long time to really accept my brilliance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really and truly, and my children are brilliant, just like your children are brilliant. I mean, it's something, it's something about this. And how I reconciled the white blood is that it was a happening in time that produced my grandchildren. Yes. Without that happening in time, you and I would not be talking.
Exactly.
So that's how I reconcile it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't assign anything on it that it was a happening in time.
Right.
And if I had not been for that happening in time, I wouldn't have 6 grandchildren right now. But, so I wouldn't have as many grandchildren as I am.
I wouldn't be able to tell the story. And so
that's right.
We all have them. At the end of the day, we all have a story that makes
That's right. And our story, absolutely, we might have some sorrow because in Montgomery, there's a James Walden in the Linton, Missouri, and in the Linton Museum there. Came out of Mississippi. I think your auntie posted that, Vivian.
Somebody posted it. I posted it. I was the one
who posted it. Okay, so I think I got it out. I don't think you and I were communicating, but then I think I put it on my page, and I tell people that. And in the 1800s, and I think a person was from Mississippi.
Actually, it was Louisiana.
You're right,
yep.
Louisiana. Mm-hmm,
it was Louisiana, and actually the state of Louisiana wrote an apology to the family members.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it was a wrongful lynching. And what they had accused them of larceny, and that was not the case. And but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow! You are just a treasure trove of history. I didn't know there was an apology there because my grandmother's first husband, in Columbia County, was lynched too. And then she married James Garfield Walden. But so it's unusual for us about to get an apology, even though that the state did do that.
Won't be able to bring his life back, but
no, it does. You don't wake up the dead.
No, unfortunately.
No. But this idea of these people coming from they had to be wealthy, and it's a Walden University there. in England. I mean, because I've looked at that. I mean, it's okay. I mean, I don't know that much about it, but I did go and check it out online. But they were wealthy when they came to America.
They were wealthy when they came, to America. I know the three of the siblings that stayed behind. The oldest one acquired 800 acres of land. The next one acquired 500, and then the other one got 3. So to that point, they were very wealthy individuals. They were, landowners, even the descendants. And so it's an interesting story that I'm just.
It is an interesting story, and the thing that because we got a cousin that lives in Memphis. I mean, outside of Memphis. I used to live in Florida, and he's a serial entrepreneur is what he calls himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just does one business after another one. I mean, they landowners. They moved from Florida, him and his wife, and they're doing so well. And then on the Facebook page, it's just all of this accomplishment. So it's something about this line of people. I mean, and my lineage also intersect Native American blood also on some places, but it's something about ingenuity, not being afraid, being bold. And I think it comes from not only that, but I think it comes from that we were raised to. Although I was raised in segregation. I mean, it's something about wanting to do something and actually do it right. I mean, and I'm sure we got some people who might be locked up somewhere that we don't know nothing about. But
every family does, but
but we don't know nothing about them.
Right.
But what we do know,
totality.
Yeah, that's right.
It was interesting. The family reunion that I attended in July of last year is
I got a booklet from it. I mean, I do have the booklet. Yeah, I bought 2 of them. So, yeah.
The 43rd family reunion, and we have a genealogy book that's 262 pages of family history, and that's not including everything that I've uncovered since last July to go into the Walden section. But it was interesting. They took us on a tour of the homestead. And in one particular area, we rode by cotton fields for just miles and miles and miles. And, my son innocently asked, he's like, well, Mom, who's working the fields? Because, we don't work them anymore. And our tour guide explained to us, who was a family member, that, of course, the way that they operate now, they have this product that they spray over the fields, which is like Roundup. It pops the stems off. Then they have a machine that comes by and it pulls up, all the cotton, and then they send it out for distribution. All of this, long story short. And then she made the comment, she was 76. She's 76. She was 76 at the time. She said, and we own these fields.
Oh.
And I said, excuse me? And I said, wait, we went from working the fields to owning them. But the lesson in that to us was this. She said, don't ever give up your land.
That's right.
It has value. And she said, never be too proud to reach out to family if you need help. And she told a story of a family member that had acquired 30 acres of land. He owed like $2,000 in back taxes, didn't have it, and he ended up losing the land. And so that was a lesson in pride. She said, don't ever be proudful. If you need
I understand about that proud, because I understand about the pride. That was involved in my piece of property in Sanford. So, on the 1100 Pecan Avenue. So, yes, I understand about pride and property.
That's it. So, just reach out. That's what family is for. But it was just interesting to see that those fields had transitioned, but it was the same thing. The slave owner had given the land to his Black family, and
that's right. And that happened more than what history talks about, because a lot of the churches that was being burned in Louisiana at that time were churches that had gotten started right after slavery, and the land was given to one of those persons that had been associated with that with that plantation. That's how a lot of those Black churches got started, and there's a lot of people that was ministers. And then some of them went into the insurance business. Also, at Atlanta Life or something like that, coming out of Atlanta. I mean, you wouldn't know nothing about that, but
I know Atlanta Life. I know Atlanta Life.
They come out, insurance and stuff like that. So, Yeah, I keep me posted because I know you just kind of unturning. All I know is that my grandfather had a lot of brothers, and that all of his brothers, and all of his brothers' children called my grandfather uncle.
Yeah.
Every Walden in Seminole County called my grandfather uncle. And that's all I know. His name was James Garfield Walden, and so I always figured in my mind that he had a lot of brothers, and they all left Georgia somewhere, come down there, and that's how they got there. That's how I figured in my mind that because their brothers, those brothers had already passed on when I was born. See, so
Right.
my grandfather was the only uncle that was left in the Walden line when I was growing up. See, so I didn't.
I think too, because and then there are 10 other children. Well, 9 other ones that we're still trying to, locate now. And it's highly likely that, they sent the message, hey, we found somewhere where we can thrive, we can grow. It's our own. We can live, love, and build. And
right.
Being
And then, yes. And then he had one of those year-round jobs. They had one of those year-round jobs working for the Atlantic coastline at that time. That was considered a year-round job. So all I know, he married my grandmother, and he brought her home to 1100 Pecan Avenue, and that was the only address I ever had in my life. So I guess they did. They did good. So this has been so delightful. I know you're going to have some more to talk about because you still, but God, you're still doing the work.
In the trenches.
Oh, yeah. And you brought so much joy with it, though. Because you texting me and sending me things, and Frances was doing what she could do. Because Frances told me, she said, I have a picture of a relative of you in the museum. That's what she told me. And she told me that. She said, your folks was involved with this, and that kind of stuff. But again, when I grew up in Goldsboro, we didn't know it had been incorporated. See, growing up there, I didn't know. And I graduated in 1963, and Frances graduated before me. But I didn't know that. See, but I do know that we were strong. We had a community,
very strong,
and we were real strong people. And the violence that people see in the world today was not in Sanford when I was growing up in Goldsboro. It was not there. And people look at you kind of like funny and say, "No, that's not my story." I didn't grow up with that, and all my teachers was black, and that kind of stuff. So, well, this has been good. It's been delicious here. This is the last Monday in Black History, but I'm going to do a 10-minute segment every time I'm on about Black History because it doesn't go away. We're still making it.
It doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away, and it's our responsibility to keep it going.
That's
our responsibility, and I know you're involved with a lot of groups that keeps it going. I know you all are busy all the time, so I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
We do have a podcast. And it'll be up later on, either today or tomorrow. If you wanted to let some of your friends know about it, it's available on the podcast on the same at the KKNW Seattle.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And tell Forde I said hello. I'm coming this summer. All right. Yeah, I'm coming. All right. Thank you.
Take care. Be blessed.
Thank you. Bye-bye. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. See you next week. Take care.